Well, a very, very happy Friday morning to everyone, and welcome to the John Kentera Show on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Very glad you could join us on a Friday. Padres ended up squeezing out another victory on Thursday night, 4-3. They split their four-game series with the Arizona Diamondbacks, and the first-place team in the National League East, the Philadelphia Phillies, rolling into town, and not going to be an easy task for the Padres. They head to the All-Star break after Sunday's ball game. We got a lot to cover today. We're going to get into the last couple of nights of Padre baseball. Padres not hitting. I was looking at the numbers this morning. They were 2 for 23 with runners in scoring position against the Diamondbacks, and right now they've only got a 5-run plus and run differential this year. So they got a lot of work to do offensively in this weekend. Not going to be easy. Phillies throwing left-hander Ranger Suarez Friday night. Saturday, arguably, along with Paul Skeens and Tarek Skubal, Zach Wheeler, top pitcher in baseball. And then the finale, a guy they saw a week ago, and he pretty much stuffed it up their tailpipe, left-hander Christopher Sanchez. So the Padres got a lot of work to do going into the All-Star break, and we're going to give you an injury update on Michael King, an injury update on Joe Musgrove. Just a lot to get done today. And, of course, on Sunday, we got the MLB Draft that we're going to get into with our guest, John Maffei, here momentarily. A couple of orders of business. Number one, we're on YouTube, Facebook, and X. We're on 3 days a week, normally Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 o'clock. Occasionally, we do an evening show, and we're going to actually do an evening show this Tuesday after the All-Star game. I've had a lot of people send me messages this week and said, Coach, what about doing a night show this coming week with the Padres being off until Friday? And, Jonathan and I, we kind of thought about it. We go, you know what? This would be great. We got 4 guys in the All-Star game, 4 Padres, and we'll do our regular show on Monday. We'll preview the All-Star game. We'll talk about the first half. And then Tuesday night, immediately following the All-Star game at Truist Park in Atlanta, we will come on and do a live show. And we're not going to put a timetable on it. We're going to come on the air as long as we have people wanting to send in questions, and we're going to be here. So we're looking forward to Tuesday night, and then we'll have our regular show next Friday. So a lot to get done. We're going to get out to Coach's Crew questions a little bit later. We'll also go into Coach's mailbag, some of the questions from the last show we couldn't get to. Again, I would ask you to subscribe, like the program, spread the word. Very much appreciate that. And again, start logging in your questions for today's show. There's a lot to navigate right now with our San Diego Padres with the trading deadline coming down on July 30th. I think right now it's kind of up in the air. I don't see this team being a team that can win the World Series championship this year. I do see a team that could probably sneak their way in to the postseason, but you can buy your National League Wildcard T-shirt, and that's about it. I don't see this team going deep into the playoffs. Things just haven't worked out. The bench is weak. Guys that you're expecting a lot out of are not delivering right now, aside really from Manny Machado. Arise doing a little bit better. Fernando had a good game on Thursday night, but no consistency with this ball club whatsoever. And we can talk about the starting pitching. Maybe Darvish will continue to pitch well. We're going to see him over the weekend against the Phillies. At some point, Michael King's hoping to come back. But there's a lot of what-ifs with this ball club. But we'll get into that a little bit later on, and definitely on Monday. But right now, I want to get into the MLB Draft. This is something that I look forward to every year. I don't particularly care for when it is now. I used to like it when it was in early June, to where the draft kind of was by itself along with the College World Series. Now you've got the Futures game. Then you got the draft, you got the home run derby, you got the all-star game. And I think the draft has gotten a little bit lost. Not only that, I think more than anything else, I'm a guy that's all about drafting and development. A lot of these guys aren't going to get signed until August. And so they lose really a whole summer of development, getting their feet wet at the professional baseball level. And, they wiped out 42 teams, which I'll never get over. A couple of years ago in minor league baseball, they've taken the draft from 50 rounds down to 20. And a guy that has seen it all, he still covers it with great passion. Our good friend John Maffei from the Union Tribune joins us this morning. And Fee, you've been covering this draft. I'm not going to say all the way back to the first draft when Rick Monday was the first player taken, but you've been covering it for a long, long time.
That's true. Well, for me, you know, became aware of it in 1966 when Darrell Evans, who ended up, with hitting 400 home runs. I played with Darrell in junior college, and Darrell was drafted by the Oakland A's, and we we didn't even know what was going on. So that was kind of crazy.
You know what was interesting back in those days? I mean, there was no ESPN, there was no social media, and guys would end up finding out sometimes not even the same day that they got drafted.
Oh, absolutely. And as a media guy, we used to have like a chain. At one time, there were 9 daily newspapers in San Diego, and what we would do was, the Escondido Times Advocate, the Oceanside Blade Tribune, the Daily Californian, and El Cajon. We would all get together and call each other. What did you hear from from your area? What did you hear? And we'd kind of piece together a list of guys. And that was probably, it went 20 years like that before Baseball America finally jumped in and started covering it.
And you wrote for Baseball America for a long period of time. I mean, you had your full-time job here in San Diego, but you wrote nationally for Baseball America for many years.
Yes, matter of fact, Alan Simpson, who started Baseball America, he came down from Canada and to be kind of the general manager or so of San Diego State baseball. And Alan and I roomed together when I worked at San Diego State. So I was the first guy he hired, as a part-time writer when he started Baseball America.
Let's talk about the statement I made before I brought you on. I really don't like this draft in the middle of July. I liked it in June for a variety of different reasons, but really when it all comes down to it, I hate to see all these young ball players, and I realize pitchers aren't going to throw a lot their first summer because they're coming off a college or high school season, but I think it really kind of slows down the development.
Oh, no question. They didn't like it when the college coaches didn't like it when it fell during the World Series. And
it always did.
Yeah, and they felt that like last year, Jack Caglione and guys like that who were drafted high, you're going up against a guy throwing 100 miles an hour from LSU, and in the back of your mind you're going, boy, if I get a hit today, will my draft status go up tomorrow? And so they were kind of pushing to either move it up or move it back, and then MLB just decided that, hey, let's make a whole weekend out of the All-Star, and I don't know if it's better, but it is different.
Yeah, it's completely different. But again, the way they're going about it, cutting it from 50 rounds down to 20, there are a lot of really good players that deserve to play professional baseball that will not hear their name this weekend.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one year, a gentleman that we know very well, Reggie Waller, was scouting for the Yankees, and it was unlimited rounds, and he was taking guys in the 99th round. Remember when it was a draft and follow,
right?
So he would take a guy with one tool. If a guy could run, he would take him. That kid would go to Grossmont College, Palomar College, Southwestern, and they would keep an eye on him. And if the kid blossomed, they controlled him till the next draft. If he didn't, what harm was it to pick the guy in the 99th round? So,
I remember I had several of my players when I was at Maricosta and Southwestern. They got drafted in the old winter draft in January.
Yes, Kevin Towers was a first round draft in the January draft in the old draft, and a gentleman that we know very well, Troy Afner, was drafted twice in the first round in January. So yeah, that was for players who had been drafted previously.
All right, Fee, let's talk about this year's draft. And by the way, folks, if you haven't already looked either online or gotten the hard copy of today's paper, John really did, as usual, an incredible job of chronicling not only Tyler Bremner, the big right-hander out of Scripps Ranch, who pitched the last few years up at UC Santa Barbara, but he's got a whole list after talking to a lot of baseball people. A lot of names of players from San Diego, not only who they are, what position, where they played, but projected what the scouts are telling him if these players are drafted kind of in the area of the draft. And John, let's talk with Tyler Bremner. And, I saw him pitch against UC San Diego. And there were a lot of guys there. Mike Rizzo, who just got let go as president of baseball operations from Washington. Chris Young, our buddy, CY, former Padre, now running the Texas Rangers. There was a lot of what you call in baseball, a lot of heat out there to see, a lot of big name baseball people. And he didn't have a good night. He did strike out 8 in 4 innings, but his control wasn't good. You could see he's got an incredible amount of talent. Delivery probably for me needs to be cleaned up a little bit. And I talked to you on the phone the other day. I go, if this guy is coachable, then I think you got something special, because this kid, the ball comes out of his hand a lot different than it does your regular pitchers. And what are the scouts telling you about him right now?
Well, what everybody's saying is, I mean, he had a rough year, and what a lot of people don't know is his mother, who he was very close to, she was undergoing cancer treatment during the season, and so he was very distracted. His mother passed in June, and he wrote. You speak of character and the coachability. I just assume from the way he wrote this tribute on Instagram to his mother, John, I was in tears reading it. I mean, it was eloquent from a 21, 22-year-old kid to write that passionately about his mother. And, to me, that speaks of his character. So I think he was a little distracted during the season. And then we had a conference call with Kiley McDaniel, the draft expert from ESPN. And Kiley said, because Tyler was projected maybe to be the first pick in the draft. And then kind of slipped to maybe in the top 5. And Kiley has him as 22. I noticed today, USA Today had their mock draft, and they had him going 11. So he's still going to go very high. But Kiley said that he had lost the bite on his slider. And the fastball's still there, carry's still there, but delivery's still clean. But you can clean up the slider. So I think maybe that's why he's jumping back up a little bit.
Well, from what I saw, I think that's going to be an easy fix. That's why I've asked you about the coachability, because he lost the slider because at times he flies open with that front shoulder and that left hip is not going towards the plate. If he gets that to where he can get that arm over that front leg, his left leg, this guy's going to be tough, because that ball jumps out of his hand.
Yeah, and it's a little funny, because Santa Barbara, where he is at, UC Santa Barbara, has a reputation of developing right-handed pitchers. So, they have to see the same thing you're seeing. And one scout told me too that the young man at Granite Hills, who was our pitcher of the year, Luke Bailey from Granite Hills, is going to Santa Barbara. And they say that he might be a first-round draft pick in 3 years after he gets the coaching at UC Santa Barbara, just like Tyler developed over his 3 years. So there's kind of a chain there of and a reputation of Santa Barbara developing pitchers.
Well, Coach Checkett's up there does as good a job as anybody in the country working with pitchers, and so a tough year. Obviously, his mind may not have been completely on baseball, and that's certainly understandable. And but he got talent now. ESPN's got him going 22, and
22.
Got 22.
Yeah.
I'm going to say right now, I think we'll wait and see. But as well as I do, it only takes one. And every coach in America, including you and me, that used to coach college baseball, we see things in guys and we think we can help them. It only takes one organization that thinks that they can turn this guy around. He very well could pop into the top 10, I think.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, if he's jumped to 11, then there's and people are going to start talking. While he's going 11, what do they see? Let's evaluate. So they have a couple more days to evaluate and talk and look at things, and teams are sequestered right now, and bringing in sandwiches and breakfast and dinner and pouring over stuff. So there, no question, he very well could go in the top 10.
Yeah, I'll be kind of anxious to see where he goes because even though I saw him on a bad night, there's a lot to like. I can tell you that. But man, he got that good fastball, and the slider was a little bit slurvy that night. But he got a lot of good stuff. And I not only do I see him being a high first round pick, I think you're going to see this guy in the not too distant future probably get to the big leagues fairly quickly. Okay, let's talk about local high school players. Last few years, local high school players haven't exactly jumped off the board here in San Diego.
We haven't had a first round pick this will be 3 years that we won't have a true high school player. Tyler played here, but he's a college guy. And we won't this year. Excuse me. Our best player is a young man at Eastlake High School, Angel Leah. And Angel was projected as probably being a first round pick. Got off to a horrible start this year. Was hitting like 270-ish. Picked it up around midseason, ended up hitting 320. But he's a big, good-looking kid. He's 6'3-ish, left-hand hitter, stands in tall, plays a great center field. Kind of, if you compare him to center field, you compare him, to a Jackson Merrill. He looks that fluid and athletic in center field. And he's jumped up probably into the third round. And again, like you said, it only takes one. If somebody realizes, I can't see him going in the first, but he could go in the third, maybe even jump into the second.
As far as Angel, you mentioned he got off to a slow start. Were people starting to kind of wonder whether or not he was going to even get drafted? Because he's got a really good commitment to the University of Oregon.
Yes, yeah, and there was some talk of, gee, what's his commitment? What's wrong? Why isn't he? And he's kind of a quiet young man, and didn't display a lot of emotion. If he popped up, he didn't slam the bat down, or he just went about his business, which I kind of like. It shows me, it shows me some maturity. But some of the scouts would have liked to see some emotion, and so there was talk that maybe he's slipping out of the draft. And then the last 3 weeks or so, he turned it on and helped Eastlake into the semifinals of the Open Division. So he's a talented young man.
I remember I signed a kid when I was at Texas Tech. His name was Bart Alford. He was an all-state Texas outfielder. He played at Duncanville High School, that big powerhouse. And the day I went to watch him play live, we were going to sign the letter of intent after the game. He went 0 for 5 and struck out 3 times. And I remember sitting in his house, in his living room, and he goes, "Coach Kentera, do you still want to sign me after today's performance?" And I go, "Yeah." I go, "Quite frankly, Bart, I go, I want to see you on bad days, how you're going to react. And, I don't want guys firing the bat in the dirt or slamming their helmet or walking by to put their teammates on eggshells." And, it sounds like Angel did a pretty good job of keeping his emotions, because all these kids go into the year, they don't talk a lot about it, but they play with a lot of pressure. Some of these guys that have had good junior years and they've gone to some of these showcases, they know there are a lot of eyeballs on them every time they even go to the drinking fountain.
Oh yeah, and especially at Eastlake, when you have the Adrian Gonzalez, Keone Cavaco, Marcelo Mayer, the history of first round draft picks. There's a lot of pressure playing at Eastlake, and Eastlake has 2 freshmen that I think are going to be first round draft picks in 2028.
Mm-hmm.
Joel Vargas, the right fielder, and Luke Enrique, big right-handed pitcher, who was touching 90 as a freshman. So there are 2 young players at Eastlake who scouts are going to keep their eye on.
Fee, tell me about the right-handed pitcher at St. Augustine, Grayson Bowles. I heard a lot about him. He has a commitment to the Longhorns in Texas.
He does, and I had a nice talk with Grayson's dad, and I liked what he said. He was very realistic. Said we have our price. We've told every scout that's come into the home. We've told him this is what we're asking. Whether he goes in the second round or the 19th round, this is what we're asking. And I said that's, and the other scouts I've talked to said that they like that. That's realistic. That and I thought maybe he was on the fence. I've talked to several scouts that say he has put the word out that he would like, not that he's going to sign, but that he would prefer to sign. And he's a big, strong right-handed pitcher. Pitched very well in front of a gaggle of scouts. It was the 11-inning nothing game with Patrick Henry, where he hooked up with Cody Capoletti, and both of them in front of, I would say, at least a dozen scouts, if not more. It's kind of tough if anybody's been to Hickman Field, because scouts can hide there. And so there was at least a dozen, if not 20 scouts, and both of them threw very well. And Cody won't get drafted, but Grayson was 92, 93 that day. And the key there to me, as you well know, the scouts stayed until the 7th inning, and to see how he was throwing 92, 93 in the first inning, he was 92, 93 in the 7th. And that, when you know baseball, if scouts are sticking around to the 7th, they're interested.
Well, and if he can hold that velocity for 7, he's legit.
Yes, yeah, and he's not a giant guy. He's 6'3", 6'4"-ish, nice frame, and he'll that 92, 93 will jump pretty easily once he matures.
How about the other high school kids? I mean, are there any that really stand out that you saw that you think could get drafted, or are there any other high school kids that could possibly go in the first 10 rounds?
Possibly, kind of surprising to me, Brody Martin, Gruzelanek, right-handed pitcher from Torrey Pines, had a nice year, but scouts are talking him up. They say that he could go pretty good. The rest of our local kids are kind of, most everybody's saying college commits, and our player of the year, Brendan Lewis, is kind of an undersized shortstop. But then hey, Jose Altuve is not a giant,
No.
And Mookie Betts is not a giant, but Brendan Lewis can flat play. He can play shortstop. And I think, he's a kid that could be, go to Arizona State for 3 years, and he'll be the talk of the draft. I think, there's a bunch of guys from Granite Hills, Parker Vance, Luke Entrican. There's a lot of kids, but I don't think an intriguing kid to me is a big right-handed pitcher, first baseman from Sage Creek, Elijah Stevens, and he hasn't made a college commit yet, and he's a good basketball player. I think Elijah might go the junior college route, where he can decide whether he's a pitcher or a basketball player. I think at some point he's got to pick one, and junior college might be a great route for him. Competition level will step up, and he'll find out, hey, I can, 6'8", I can play basketball here, and maybe that's my route. But I think he's a baseball player, but he doesn't know what he is. So JC is a good route for him.
Let's talk about the 4-year players. USD won the WCC, but they didn't have a great year. They finished under 500. San Diego State was a disaster. They bring in a new head coach. UC San Diego, I think they got a few guys. They got a couple guys that I kind of liked when I saw them against Tyler Bremner. Point Loma Nazarene has developed a great Division II baseball program. How are the colleges looking for possibly having a few guys taken?
We're going to have some guys. again, Brody Martin Grizzolonic's brother Bryce, who was at USC as a middle infielder, he'll go. Locally, probably the top pick is the first baseman from USD, Jack Gurovich, power hitting first baseman, and he's got a chance to probably go in the top 3 rounds. So it's going to be real interesting on him. I think there's Xavier Cardenas from San Diego State did not have a good year, but he throws 98, and you don't get many 98s, and he's a guy that I could see somebody take. Remember in the old day, he's a kid that probably would have gone in the 33rd round in the old 40-round draft days. Now you can't afford to miss with that 15th, 16th, 17th pick. You've got to sign everybody. So that's going to take some convincing from the local scout to go, hey, we got a really raw talent who throws 98. And, do you guys want to take, does anybody have any better, or, do we take a shot at this guy? There's some kids, that we know, Nico Newhan, who played at Maranatha Christian, had a great year at Grossmont College. Hit like 19 home runs, but I'm hearing he probably will go undrafted. He's got a commitment to Nebraska, and but here's a guy with major power, and he's got bloodlines. His dad, David, played in the big leagues. MJ Sweeney, Mike Sweeney's son, played also played at Grossmont College. Big power. He's committed to Wichita State. Probably will not get drafted. But there's some other kids. Zane Kelly, outfielder out of San Diego State, should hear his name called late in the second day. There's only 2 days this year, 1 through 3 on the first day, 4 through 20 on the second. So it's going to start early. One kid that I thought was kind of intriguing. USD also has Cal Scolari, a pitcher who I think will go pretty good. But a name that popped up when I was looking, Sam Garrowell, who I don't know if people remember the name. He was at Canyon Crest, had a sensational senior season, went to Northwestern, and then bounced to Stanford. So obviously he's opened a book in his college career. But Sam did not have a great season, but he's got tools. And he's
big, strong left-hander.
Yes, and he's a big kid, and so and as you will know, scouts don't necessarily look as much as stats as projectability. And what kind of kid is he? He's a great kid. He's a smart kid. He's got great family. So there's a name that really surprised me. As you're talking to scouts, and Sam Garrowell, holy moly, he had an 80 ERA, but they like him. They like his tools.
If he as we kind of wrap this up, I saw one guy's name down here, and he's projected to go in the 18th to 20th round. His name is Ryan Fenn. He's from Granite Hills. He went to Cal Poly, and as you know, I did the Big West Championships, and Cal Poly won it. He hit second in their lineup. Another guy from San Diego, from Claremont High School, Zach Daudet, was their leadoff hitter. And I think Daudet is worthy of playing professional baseball. Maybe he'll sign as a free agent, or maybe somebody will take him. But a guy like Ryan Fenn, this guy, it would be no doubter for me even if there were 25 or 30 rounds. Ryan Fenn can play. I mean, he's a good defender. He can swing the bat. He's a pesky hitter. He's one of those old-style second basemen that I think you and I and old-school baseball people really love. And if this kid doesn't get drafted or doesn't get signed, it's going to be a crime, because this guy epitomizes what you're looking for in a baseball player, and he's got good tools.
Yeah, and that's that. Ryan Fenn's name came up, and I agree with you. He's a baseball player. Another interesting name. Xavier Gonzalez, who out of Imperial High School, had a great season at Cal State Northridge. kind of a Ryan Fenn kind of guy, and just a really good, hard-nosed baseball player who most definitely in the old days would have been drafted. Now it's kind of we've got to have guys who are going to make it to the big leagues in those 20 rounds.
Well, we'll see. 3 o'clock on Sunday, right?
3 o'clock Sunday, yes. Hopefully the Padres are leading 7-0 in the seventh inning at 3 o'clock on Sunday.
Well, hey, as always, thank you so much, and don't get comfortable because as much as you're into baseball, high school football is right around the corner.
I sent out my high school football questionnaires on Wednesday, so it's right around the corner.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that with you as well. So thank you very much for the time. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch up with you real soon.
John, thank you.
You're welcome. John Maffei, one of the great guys you're ever going to meet, folks. This guy has great passion for sports and for high school sports. Covered the Padres for forever. Very good friends with Tony Gwynn. Very good friends with Tony Gwynn. All right. We're going to get back to our Padres. We'll see. I don't know. Padres draft 25th. I don't know who's going to be available at number 25, but I'm going to be focused in on the draft. I'll be going back and forth watching the Padre game, but I like watching the draft. I'm into that. I scouted. I've had over 30 of my players have been drafted or signed professional baseball contracts. I've had 3 guys I coach get to the big leagues. Well, 4 actually, but all very briefly. But hey, it's tough. But they got there. But I think at the end of the day, I got 36 guys that have signed professional contracts. And I was still in my late 20s when a lot of that happened. Okay. Wednesday, Padres got beat 8-2. They were out hit 8-4. They were 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position. Dylan Cease, 6 innings, 5 hits, 6 runs, all earned, 3 walks, 8 strikeouts. Gave up 3 home runs. ERA now at 4.88, record 3-9. Everybody wanted to run him out of town on Thursday. I think he's going to be out of town sooner rather than later. The Padres right now, they're kind of in dire straits. They're 5.5 games back of the Dodgers. And man, how about the Dodgers and Giants? That is going to be one hell of a series this weekend up at Oracle Park. Padres, of course, got the Phillies coming in tonight and all weekend leading into the All-Star break. So we got some great baseball this weekend. But if the Padres decide to make a run for it, they'll keep Dylan Cease. They'll keep Luis Arraez. They'll keep Michael King. And we're going to give you an update on Michael King here in a little bit. They'll keep Robert Suarez. And I think they can make the playoffs. I just don't think they can be a real player in the playoffs this year. But anything could happen. This is not the same team that we saw a year ago. They're not playing with the verb and the passion and the energy that we saw a year ago. And their bench is awful. The catching situation's a complete disaster offensively. I don't know what to tell you. It is what it is. And, I mean, they're kind of backed into a corner. I mean, think about this. They've got all these pending free agents, and we know that they can make qualifying offers to these guys. But they'll get a 4th-round draft pick if those guys decline. I don't know. With the Barron farm system, I see some tough years ahead. I really do, because I don't think this ownership is going to step up to the plate financially to where they're going to go out. And I'm not asking for any more long-term contracts. I don't want to see any more long-term contracts. Okay, that's why they're in the position they're in and why their bench is where their bench is, because they've got too much money tied up in, 5 or 6 players. And so no farm system, a bunch of free agents that could walk out the door, and guys that you may not get anything for, maybe a 4th-round draft pick, maybe Michael King, if he doesn't come back, he'll take that player option for next year. If not, he can walk away, get a $3.5 million buyout. I don't know why they give these guys buyouts. I mean, you got to bow your back and say, hey, man, we're going to give you $15 million. If you want to decline it, fine. You're a free agent. Why should I pay a player to say he doesn't want to play for me? I just don't understand those buyouts. And I worked in the agent business, and I just don't understand that. In this next bargaining agreement, and I didn't plan on going this, I think they're going to have some major problems because I think the owners are going to bow their back, and not that the owners are uh, lily clean. Okay, there are a lot of turd owners that really don't know a whole lot about baseball, and the guys that are looking at the bottom line, then they're never going to win. But I think three things would, if I was a commissioner in a perfect world, this is the way it'd work. Number one, every team has to spend a certain amount. You can't have the Pirates or the Rockies or some of these lower division ball clubs, pay nothing for the ball players. You got to have a floor. But then I also think there should be a salary cap. But the other thing, I would love, I would just love this. I mean, I look at football players. Those guys, they could get cut any day of the week. And unless they had a guaranteed contract, they're a big quarterback or something, you're out of a job, man. You don't get paid. You get paid what you've earned. I'm tired of watching teams pay these guys big money, and these guys are always hurt. Anthony Rendon up there with the Angels. These guys are always hurt. And then all of a sudden, when they become free agents, all of a sudden they put together a good year. Or they make so much money they don't care, and they'll just ride off into the sunset. I mean, I know a guy. I remember Duke Snyder told me one time, the great Hall of Fame center fielder for the Dodgers. I had him on the show, and Duke was a great guy. Lived in Fallbrook, and man, he was really cool. And he told me he thought he had a pretty good year one year, and he got called into Walter O'Malley's office, and he sat down. And he goes, "Hey, Duke," and Duke was thinking he's going to give me a raise, man. I'm going to make some money, and he goes, "Well, we're going to have to go backwards this year, Duke." And he gave him a lesser contract the next year. And Duke Snyder had a good year. So it's kind of crazy. But I would love to have a salary cap. I'd also like to have a floor to where you've got to spend X amount of dollars on your roster. And I'd like to see guys actually earn their salary rather than Cadillac. And look at Rafael Devers. What a slob. What an absolute slob. He's out of shape. The guy's going to make almost $400 million off of that contract with Boston. And they were dumb because he obviously doesn't have great mental makeup. And now he doesn't even show up for a workout the other day with the great Will Clark. And Will Clark said, we weren't even going to take ground balls or throws. I just wanted to show him some footwork. The Giants, he works for the Giants. And Will Clark goes, we're just going to work on footwork, show him a couple of things so he could get a little more comfortable if he's going to play first base. The guy didn't even show up. Doesn't show up. I mean, when stuff like that's insubordination. I'm sorry. And you ought to be suspended without pay, or if the ball club feels it, they ought to be able to dock you a good chunk or void the contract. You don't want to go out and take extra ground balls. You refuse and you're under a long-term contract. Screw you. I mean, some of these players they had to kiss the ground they walk on every day, because some of these guys, the owners are dumb, general managers are dumb, giving some of these guys long-term contracts. And I'm not going to get into point fingers at this team or that team or this general manager or this owner. But man, there are a lot of dumb people in baseball these days. A lot of dumb people in baseball. Okay, Wednesday night, Padres get beat 8-2. Bad night for Dylan Cease. Padres 4 hits, 0 for 5 runners in scoring position. And then they come back on Thursday night and they eke out a 4-3 victory. A good job. They were down 2-0 early. 1 run in the third, 1 run in the fourth, 2 runs in the fifth, and they hung on by a thread. Arizona struggled with runners in scoring position Thursday night, 1 for 10. How about the Padres? 2 for 10 or 2 for 12, and they left 13 runners on base. Randy Vasquez wild. They took him out after 4 1/3, giving up 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 4 walks. Mike Schultz had seen enough. Adrian Morejon came in, did a nice job in inning and 2/3, a hit, a walk, 2 strikeouts, picked up another win. He's finding a way to get wins, and he's had a heck of a year. 7-3 and a 1.71. Jason Adam gave up a run. Jeremiah Estrada looked pretty sharp. Suarez closed it out for his 27th save. Offensively, Fernando 2 for 4, his 16th homer. Manny Machado 3 for 5, 22nd double, 16th home run. Gavin Sheets, another big game, 3 for 3 with a walk. Bryce Johnson came in late for Sheets. He had a base hit to left. Bogarts 1 for 4. Nice sacrifice bunt. Jackson Merrill 0 for 1. 3 walks, a run scored, a strikeout. You could see him being very, very frustrated even when he walked. But you know what? You got to walk before you run. He's having a miserable year, hitting 262 right now. He's got 5 home runs. Who would have ever thought that Luis Arraez would have as many home runs as Jackson Merrill at this point in time? Jackson Merrill got to get it back together. He went from bat number 2 last week in the lineup, number 5. Last night, he hit number 6. And Jose Iglesias, a couple of hits. Got that average up to 229, 2 for 4. Cronenworth had an RBI and a 1 for 4 night. And, of course, the catching staff hitting a robust 175 for Martin Maldonado. He was 0 for 3 and a strikeout. And Elias Diaz came in late. He didn't get an at bat, but he's over the 200 mark. He's at 201 right now. So there you have it. So that's what you had. They ended up going, again, 2 for 23 in with runners in scoring position against the Diamondbacks. Yeah, I don't know about this ball club, folks. I don't know. Maybe a lot of you are a lot higher on this team, but you know what? You may need to take off those brown and gold glasses. This is not a good ball club. Not a good ball club. Not playing with any kind of fire whatsoever. They're limping to the All-Star break right now. We'll see what happens, man. They got their work cut out for them this week. This Phillies ball club, they're tough. They're very tough. The one thing about the Phillies, they have not been a great team on the road this year, and we'll get to that in a minute. Let me give you a quick injury update. Michael King, that nerve impingement in his right shoulder. It sounds like he's making progress. He had a 25-pitch bullpen, and felt pretty good. See how he feels today. I saw in the paper today he wants to be back by August 20th. Therefore, it'll be Michael King bobblehead night. And hopefully he comes back before August 20th. We got to get this guy back. But, I mean, these days are getting clicked off in the month of July. So you got to get Michael King back, but no timetable. But again, wants to be back for his bobblehead night on the 20th of August. Joe Musgrove Wednesday threw off the mound for the first time since Tommy John surgery. The catcher stood up. Fastball reportedly right around 80 miles an hour. And again, Joe's not a guy that's going to throw 97 miles an hour. He's going to be 92, 93, maybe with a little adrenaline, 94 or 95, but not regularly. That's not his gig. He's more of a pitcher, throwing the breaking ball and the sweeper and, throw the ball up in the zone a little bit. But Joe's making progress, and hopefully, he'll be able to come back. I know he wants to come back, and we've talked about it. He wants to come back this year, but I'm not holding my breath on that one. Okay, let's get out some questions. I'm sure everybody's got questions. I'm going to reserve judgment. It really until after this weekend. But if they were to get swept by Philadelphia, we got to really take a good hard look at this ball club. Right now, my thoughts are you may have to just punt on this season. You have no prospects at the higher levels. You've got a bunch of free agents that are going to walk out the door. And I think there's just too many other teams in the National League that are better than the Padres right now. I mean, the Dodgers, they're scurrying right now, but they're going to get healthy. They may struggle. They may drop 2 out of 3. I don't think they'll get swept by the Giants, but that's a good series. Giants are a better ball club than the Padres right now. They really are. And I know the Padres have fared very well against the Giants in head-to-head competition, but it's not just about head-to-head competition. Giants are playing with some passion, and they've won some very interesting games. They seem to have some of that late inning magic that the Padres have had the last few years, but we'll wait and see. But the signs with this ball club for me are not great. Let's get out to Coach's Crew, get to the questions today. Matthew Villarreal, thank you very much, Matthew. I very much appreciate it. That's very kind of you. What's up, Coach? Passan says Padres are aggressive. About Duran, what would this team look like with him and adding in a controllable Eduardo Cabrera? Cabrera would be nice. I kind of like him. I know a lot of teams are going to probably go after Alcantara. And obviously, AJ has a history of trading with Miami. That very well may be doable. But I have a feeling you're going to have to give up a pretty good guy to get Cabrera. As far as Duran, he's not having a great year. You'd have him under control for 3.5 seasons, though. And where the Padres are at right now, that may not be bad because they're not going to have a lot of free agent money, I don't think. I really don't know where this team is going financially. I have no idea whether or not they're even going to keep this team. They may sell this team. They may sell this team. Well, we'll wait and see. Nobody's saying anything, but it seems like they're going to try to get under the threshold, make sure they don't have to pay a salary tax by going over the threshold. But Duran would play left field, and Gavin Sheets would be the full-time designated hitter, I would imagine. I like Duran. He's not having a great year with Boston. He had a really special year last year. He's approaching 30 years of age. This team needs to get a little bit younger, but Duran's an athletic guy, and he plays with great passion. But we'll wait and see on that. That's been discussed for about a month now. But I like Duran. I'm just not sure, you could get him a lot cheaper, I think, than you can get Cabrera. And Boston's probably going to trade one of those out for. They got so many good players in the minor leagues right now, young players in the minor leagues. But Matthew, thank you very much. I really appreciate that super on this Friday morning. Okay, Mike, happy Friday, Coach. I was on Lee Hamilton's show yesterday, and they talked about Fernando being a student of the game versus relying strictly on talent. Do you believe he's truly a student of the game? I think he plays more on talent than being a student of the game. I think Fernando's always trying to work. I mean, he's a student in a game in one sense, from the standpoint of trying to outfox you from time to time on the base paths. I don't necessarily think he's a real student of the game in the batter's box. Defensively, he's a talented guy. I think he could get a little bit better on having a little bit better game plan when he gets into the box. But I think when he gets on the bases, he knows the cat and mouse game as well as anybody. I think he's a really good base stealer. I think he's a good base runner. Sometimes he'll get a little over exuberant, but you know what? That's because he can run, and he's got pretty good anticipation skills. But as far as a hitter, I think he could really grow a lot as a hitter. I'm not sure that he gets into the box with a game plan every time and really makes with 2 strikes great adjustments. I mean, everybody in the league's got Fernando kind of figured out right now. I think Fernando, he's an average to an above average major league player right now. He's got 16 home runs. He's hitting, right around 260. I'm kind of disappointed. I don't know about you folks. I'm disappointed in his performance. They always say, well, maybe he's playing hurt. Well, you know what? Everybody's playing hurt. But this may be who Fernando Tatis Jr. is. This may be who he is. I don't know. We're going to see. Got him under a long-term contract. I hope he gets better. And everybody knows he's my favorite player, but, man, I'm disappointed. He's not playing great. Had a nice night Thursday night, 16th bomb and another base hit, but not great. I mean, I was looking at a lot of the hitters in the league as far as average. Man, he's way down the list, way down the list. And, his homer numbers are nothing to write home about. I mean, heck, Andy Pages up there with the Dodgers, got better numbers, hitting for a higher average, more RBIs. I don't know, man. Fernando kind of is Fernando. But, every once in a while he shows you those glimpses, but it's not a daily thing, that's for sure. But, Mike, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Steve Tejas, hi, Coach. Incentive ruins contracts too. More money for homers, etc. Players ads start wanting to hit homers only to get their incentives. Pay to win, no matter what it takes. What do you think? Steve, I think what I'm seeing out of the Padres at least, and I'll talk about baseball in general, I think the Padres last year really did a good job of using the middle of the field and going the other way. I see some guys this year, trying to hit the ball of the ballpark, trying to do a little bit too much. And some of them have long-term contracts, so it really shouldn't play into it. But, I saw that comment the other day, Juan Soto. Not a Juan Soto guy, not a team guy. And I think New York is going to get tired of this guy's act. Yeah, but they're stuck with him. The Mets are stuck with him for a year. Nobody's going to take that contract. But, they asked him about not making the All-Star game, and he basically brought up, well, it's costing me a lot of money. Are you serious? Are you serious? You're going to go that direction? That because you're not going to the All-Star game, you're going to miss out on some money? I mean, what a tool. What an absolute tool. What a jackass. But no, Steve, I agree with you. I think it depends on what team, what player it is, where they're at in their contract. They're going to be a free agent. Guys, they start to lift the ball a little bit. I'm not seeing that as much as I did a few years ago, because if you try to do that now, these guys, most of their hitting mechanics break down and they can't get to that high fastball. And I'm not saying that's what Jackson Merrill is going through right now, but he can't hit a high fastball. He's got to get on top of the baseball. I've been talking about that, but nobody's listening. And you watch him at the plate right now, he might as well go sit down. He's out before he ever steps in the box. He just mentally checked out. And he was frustrated last night. They walked him 3 times after he struck out his first at bat, and he threw the bat over there. Didn't just toss it. He kind of threw it like this 3 different times. He was really frustrated. But you got to get in there knowing you can hit. Got to have some confidence. But no, I agree with you. Some guys, they want to hit those warning track fly balls. They'd be out in Williamsport, as we used to say, Little League Baseball World Series. It'll be out in Williamsport, but it's a fly ball. We had a college coach. And Steve, remember Coach Seeley. Coach Seeley said there were only 2 good fly balls, one that went over the fence and the other one, deep fly ball with a runner on third and less than 2 outs. Other than that, hit line drives and hard ground balls. That theory worked 100 years ago, and it works today. And everybody's talking about the Padres on Thursday on the talk shows. Half the guys talking. I mean, there's some guys that know baseball that are on the radio, but there's a few that just throw out the cliches, and they wouldn't know a baseball from a grapefruit. And they're talking, well, the Padres, they're flying out deep to center field. Well, you know what? Get on top of a baseball and hit a line drive. Okay, get the barrel through the hitting area. You might drive that ball into left or right center field, depending if you're a right-hand hitter or a left-hand hitter. I mean, I'm tired of excuses. Baseball, like all sports, is a game of production. And right now, the Padres on the year are +5 in run differential. And there's a really good chance that when I join the show on Monday, that they're going to be negative run differential. How many runs are they going to get against Ranger Suarez, Zach Wheeler, or Christopher Sanchez? Now, maybe they'll come out and all of a sudden they have an epiphany and they bang out 12 hits, 3 games in a row, and score 23 runs in this series. I don't see it. But this team here, I think I'm going to have to be a seller. I mean, I know a lot of you people want to be buyers, and that's great. I'm not chasing fool's gold with this ball club. No way, shape, or form. And the worst thing the Padres could do, I'd rather see them be buyers rather than just standing pat. If they stand pat and just try to, work their way along with this deplorable bench, awful catching situation, in an offense that can't hit with runners in scoring position, then great. Go for it. Get in as the third wild card if you can make that. But, man, I think you got to gobble up as many prospects as you can for a lot of these veterans that are going out the door. Okay. So, Steve, I agree with you. Not a lot of guys, but there are guys on every team that, try to hit the ball in the ballpark because they're a free agent and they want to make a little bit more money next year. The team aspect of offense is not great. It's really not great, depending on what organization and the accountability. Not every team holds their players accountable. I think some teams, the inmates are running the asylum, quite frankly. All right, Steve, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Big Sam Sanford. Coach, what would you think about straight across trade of Dylan Cease for Jayne Duran? I've heard a few rumblings of that specific trade proposition. I will tell you, here's the thing you fall into. Duran, I think that would be doable. Personally, I would like to go the Kevin Towers route. If I'm trading Dylan Cease, I want Duran, but I'd like another prospect. I'd like a AA prospect pitching prospect. I want an arm. I like to get arms. I like to gobble up as many arms as I can get. The problem you have is Cease is a free agent, so he can walk away. Duran, on the other hand, the Padres would be able to control him for 3.5 years, so that may make that opportunity to get that young arm not possible. You can't get too much for Boston, considering they're just taking a guy for a few months and save a little money. Padres would save a little money on that, so I would buy that. I think Duran is not going to be a fit any longer in Boston. With all the young guys coming up, Dylan Cease, Padres would save a little bit of money, not a lot, because they'd still be on the hook for half of his contract, or a little bit less than half. Boston would, if they made that deal. But I wouldn't mind Jarren Duran. You're not having a great year, but maybe getting out of Boston would help him. But Sam, thank you very much. Very much appreciate that. All right, David. I think Merrill will improve after the All-Star break. Let him work on that high fastball. He needs to get on top of that pitch. Absolutely. I've been saying that as soon as he went into the slump, and they're just pounding him up. I mean, they get ahead. They'll go away and get a strike on that corner. You throw that ball down and in. And even the other night, they threw a ball down and in, and he fouled it off. That's the pitch he loves to hit, but he's going up there with no confidence right now. But then they're taking him up the ladder, and he's having a really, really hard time from refraining from going to that pitch. But now I agree. The other thing that I would bring up, he come back maybe a little too soon from that concussion? I don't know. I mean, he obviously got cleared, but you got to kind of wonder. But also, this first time this guy really, if you date back to last year, this is the first time this guy has really struggled at the major league level. And he's having a hard time figuring it out right now. So thank you very much, David. I appreciate it. Good question. Oh, Mike, wow. Thank you very much. Very much appreciate that, Super. That's very kind of you. Nothing to say, Coach. God bless you. We all appreciate the work you put into this show. Mike, thank you very much. That's very kind of you. And between Jonathan and I, we work pretty hard on this show. I had somebody say to me the other night when I was doing the Strike Force game, boy, what a great win they had on Monday night. They qualified for the playoffs for the second straight year. They still got 3 games to go. Somebody said, why are you still doing all this stuff? Why are you doing your podcast? Why are you doing UCSD basketball? Why are you doing the Strike Force? You know why? Because I love doing it. I'm not getting rich doing it. I love doing it. I love talking sports. I love the interaction that we're having right now. And I'm honest. I've always been honest. It's not like I'm a different guy now than I was on the radio. I'm the same guy. And, I love baseball. I love football. I love basketball. I love all sports. But I appreciate that. And Mike, and my wife says, yeah, you're still intense when you get ready to do a show. I go, that's just me. My wife always said to me, I'm glad you weren't a football coach very long. I coached high school football for 3 years. She goes, if you'd have been a high school football coach, you'd have been dead before you hit 40. She goes, you're just too intense when you're getting prepared to do a show. That's just me. On the air, it's totally, once I get on the air, I'm fine. But leading up to a show, man, I bear down. I bear down, and I don't think I'll ever change. And man, coaching was great, though. I love coaching. I loved every second of every day when I was coaching, and it didn't matter what sport. I was very fortunate. I coached with some great guys in high school, junior college, 4-year level, and I had some incredible athletes that I coached at all the different stops. I mean, not just great athletes, but great people. And I still stay in touch with a lot of those people, and they stay in touch with me. And they always, I think, feel fairly proud when they hear me, on TV or radio or doing the podcast, and they can tell their buddies, hey, Coach Kentera coached me. And I'm just as proud of them as they are of me and what I've accomplished. But Mike, thank you very much. That's very kind of you. All right, let's get to the 3-game series. And I'm going to make this short and sweet. And again, remember, Monday we'll be on. We're going to preview the All-Star game. We're going to take a look at the Padres first half. Tuesday night after the All-Star game, we're going to be on live immediately following the All-Star game. We'll talk about the 4 Padres, how they performed in the game, and then we'll have our regular Friday show. So remember, Tuesday night, hey, turn the TV off or turn the sound down, jump on YouTube, and we're going to be talking and breaking down the ball game. Okay, Phillies in town. They're 54-39, a game and a half lead over the Mets right now in the National League East. They're 30-16 on the year at Citizens Bank Park. I mentioned they've not had a great season on the road. They're 24-23. Phillies took 2 out of 3 last week from the Padres in Philly. And taking a look at the pitching matchups, wow, this is going to be interesting. You've got tonight, left-hander Ranger Suarez, 7-2 and a 1.99 ERA, going against right-hander Ryan Bergert, 1-0 and 2.67. Remember, he's going to be activated. The Padres are going to have to make a roster move today. He's going to be activated because he's been on the IL after he took that line drive off the forearm a couple of weeks back. So he's expected to make the start tonight. Tomorrow, the game is going to be at 4:35, folks. On Saturday, it'll be right-hander Zach Wheeler, 9-3 and a 2.17, who threw a gem last time out, 8 innings, 10 punch-outs against the Padres. And of those 10 punch-outs, 9 of them were against the Padres' left-hand hitters. So they got Zach Wheeler going against Yu Darvish, making his second start. Yu 0-1 and a 4.91, throwing his innings the other night. And then Sunday, the final game before the All-Star break, left-hander Christopher Sanchez, 7-2 and a 2.59, going against right-hander Nick Pivetta, 9-2 in a 3.07 ERA. Nick finishing up a heck of a first half. That game's at 1:10. So tonight, the regular start time at 6:40. Tomorrow, 4:35, and Sunday at 1:10. Okay, let's take a quick look at the National League West standings and the wild card. All right, starting play tonight. Dodgers, 5-game lead over the Giants, 5.5 over the Padres. Arizona, 10 games back. In Colorado, 21-72, 34.5 games back. I'm going to tell you, watch out for that Arizona ball club. Mike Hayes and their GM is going to make a move, and they're going to get that great young catcher back here before too long, Gabby Moreno. He's a good player, man. He's one of the better catchers in baseball. Take a look at the wild card here real quick. And if we were starting today, not good for the Padres. They're half game back. You got the Brewers. Brewers got a good ball club. And man, what a bullpen they have. The Mets right there at number 2. The Giants hanging in there. And that could all flip-flop this weekend with them taking on the Dodgers up at Oracle Park. Padres a half game back. Cardinals hanging in there a game back. Cincinnati 3 games back. Diamondbacks 5 games back. And then you got all the also-rans. The Marlins, they're not going to be able to make up that ground. But watch out for the Diamondbacks. I'm not really that scared about the Reds. Cardinals are a problem. And it's going to be, I think, a race to the wire. And again, maybe the Padres will be buyers. But I just don't see them winning a world championship with this roster. I could see them getting the playoffs, but we'll have to wait and see. Okay, let's get a couple of quick ones here in Coach's Mailbag, and we'll get out of here and let you get on with your Friday. And I appreciate everyone tuning in, and appreciate all the supers from you folks out there that are tuning into the program. Okay, Coach's Mailbag, what do we got? What's your favorite trade AJ has made in San Diego? Boy, I'd have to think. I'll tell you what, I like Arise. The trade they made for Arise, that's one of my favorite. I don't like giving up young players, but I like Luis Arise, and I hope the Padres are able to keep him. Obviously, getting rid of James Shields and getting Eric Johnson or Fernando Tatis Jr., that has to rank right up there with the best trade in Padre history, bringing in Fernando. But Fernando's got to play better. He got to play better. He's not the same player he was a few years ago. I don't know if cooling him off out there in right field, he's bored, uninterested, or what, but he ain't the same player to me. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but getting Luis Ariz a year ago was big for me. All right, what else we got here? Oh, Lizard King, with the All-Star Week, be a good time for players like Merrill to get their heads right. Absolutely. Enough said on that. Absolutely. Get away. Don't watch TV. Go to the beach. Do whatever. Just don't do anything dangerous to where you can hurt yourself. But I agree with you. Take the full time. Get out of town. If you want to stay around town, just hang out. Do some fun things in San Diego. Don't go on a big travel where you got to go to the airport and do all that crap. Just rest. Have a staycation. There are a lot of things to do in San Diego, especially for these guys that don't live here year round. Get out and do things you're never going to get an opportunity to do otherwise. Okay, good job on that. And what are my thoughts on the home run derby? I haven't really looked at it real hard. I know a lot of people don't like the home run derby, but I kind of enjoy it because the announcers are normally talking baseball. And anytime you're talking baseball, I want to be a part of it. But we're going to break it down. We'll talk about the contestants. I do like O'Neill Cruz, though, of Pittsburgh. Man, he could hit the ball a long ways. We're going to talk more about that on Monday. I'm going to even give you the umpires, who's going to be umpiring the ball game. So, anyways, well, hey, thanks for tuning in. Very much appreciated. Again, please subscribe, like, and if you didn't get your questions answered today, you can still type them in, and we'll get to them in our next program. For Jonathan Oliveri, Coach John Kentera, have a great weekend. Talk to you Monday morning at 9 a.m. right here on the John Kentera Show on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Bye-bye.